In a small town surrounded by green trees full of flowers, lived a kind lady on a cozy farm. Her name was Camila. She was well known because she took care of the animals with much patience, love, and affection. Among these animals was her favorite, a little donkey named Benedito. She affectionately called him Dito. Dito arrived at the farm when he was still young, and Dona Camila raised him with the same care she would give to a child. She provided him with the best meals, brushed his coat until it shone in the sun, and even sang lullabies to help him sleep peacefully. As the years passed, Benedito grew into a strong and robust donkey. However, as he grew, so did his ego, becoming vain and stubborn. He started to believe that he was the most important figure on the farm, no longer obeying Dona Camila as he used to, and often causing mischief that created problems and worries. Once, taking advantage of a moment of distraction, Benedito pushed the barn door with his snout and escaped. He ran through the fields, jumping and braying, feeling free and unbound. However, his freedom didn't last long because Dona Camila, with her slow but determined step, eventually found him in the neighbor's garden, eating flowers. "Benedito, what are you doing here?" scolded Dona Camila gently but firmly. "It's not right for you to cause so much trouble. It's time to go back to the barn." With patience and affection, she managed to lead Benedito back home, teaching him an important lesson about respect and responsibility. However, the donkey had never faced a situation like this before, and felt deeply hurt in his pride because he was always called Dito and never Benedito. With a loud bray and a kick of his hind legs, he decided he didn't want to go back. Resentful, he took the path that led him out of the farm, leaving behind the old lady who loved him so much and who could do nothing to stop him. Thus began the journey of the disobedient donkey, not knowing that his decision would lead him to learn a great lesson. The sun was beginning to set behind the mountains when Benedito, the stubborn donkey, realized that hunger was starting to gnaw at his stomach. He had spent the day wandering aimlessly, enjoying a freedom that now seemed bitter. Confident that he would easily find something to eat as he always did on Dona Camila's farm, he approached a distant farm from his home. This new farm was large and busy, with animals of all kinds, and a stern-looking farmer who ran the work with an iron fist. The sun was beginning to set behind the mountains when Benedito, the stubborn donkey, realized that hunger was starting to gnaw at his stomach. He had spent the day wandering aimlessly, enjoying a freedom that now seemed bitter. Confident that he would easily find something to eat as he always did on Dona Camila's farm, he approached a distant farm from his home. This new farm was large and busy, with animals of all kinds, and a stern-looking farmer who ran the work with an iron fist. Benedito, used to the affection and pampering of Dona Camila, soon realized that life on this new farm would not be as easy. Stern farmer had no patience for his mischief and demanded hard work from all the animals. Benedito tried to adapt, but he began to miss his old life more and more. He missed the fresh carrots, the lullabies, and even Dona Camila's loving patience. Every day that passed, freedom he had so eagerly desired became more and more of a burden. With the same audacity as always, Benedito approached the feeding trough where other donkeys were eating peacefully. However, these donkeys were different from him. They had worked hard all their lives and were not willing to share their food with a stranger. "Get out of here, intruder," the donkeys brayed, pushing him with their strong bodies. Benedito tried to resist, but the farmer noticed the commotion and with a loud voice threatened him with his stick. "If you want to eat, you will have to work." Thus, Benedito was forced to perform the toughest tasks on the farm. Carried heavy sacks of grain, dragged plows through the hard earth, and transported water from the well from dawn until dusk. At night, his legs ached, his back was covered in bruises, and to make matters worse, he barely received any food scraps to eat. When night fell, Benedito was alone in a corner of the stable, far from the warm blanket and the soft manger of his old home. Tears streamed from his eyes as he remembered Dona Camila and the life he had abandoned. The days on the new farm were harsh and lonely. The donkey, who once thought he was superior and vain, now faced the harsh reality of hard work and lack of affection. Every day he missed Dona Camila and the care she had given him more. The The stern farmer had no patience for his weaknesses and demanded more and more work. Benedito, who used to bray with joy, now groaned with exhaustion and sadness. But his wounded pride prevented him from admitting his mistake. "I don't need anyone. I won't go back," he told himself, even though an inner voice whispered that he missed Donna Camila and her love. The days went by, and Benedito's situation did not improve. The farmer and the other donkeys treated him worse and worse, but stubbornly he refused to go back. One night, as the moon shone in the sky and he looked at the stars, an epiphany struck him. He remembered Camila's words, patience, and her unconditional love. It was then that he understood the value of home and the love he had despised. As Benedito faced the harsh lessons of life away from home, Donna Camila never lost hope of finding her beloved donkey. Day after day, with an anguished heart, she traveled roads and neighboring villages, asking every passerby and farmer if they had seen her beloved Benedito. "Please, if anyone finds my donkey, tell him I am waiting with open arms," she said with a trembling voice, showing an old photograph of him. The townspeople, moved by Camila's devotion, offered words of comfort, but no one knew Benedito's whereabouts. Determined to bring her companion back, Donna Camila offered a reward for any information. She sold her furniture, work tools, and even the blankets that protected her farm from the cold. She sold her chickens, ducks, rabbits, and everything she had. The once lively and joyful farm became silent and empty. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. Donna Camila would sit at dusk under the old mango tree of the farm, looking at the road hoping to see Benedito's silhouette against the orange sky of the sunset. "Come back home, Benedito," she whispered to the wind. "The house isn't a home without you." Time passed, and although her body weakened, Camila's love for Benedito never wavered. She knew that beyond disobedience and pride, the bond between them was unbreakable. In the solitude of those starry nights, a burning desire kept her heart alive. Reunion with her disobedient donkey. One day, while working and carrying heavy bales of straw, Benedito stumbled, exhausted and hungry. Farmer, impatient and unyielding, struck him mercilessly with a shovel. "Move, you useless donkey," he shouted, and the sound of the blow echoed in the silence of the barn. It was the first time someone had raised a hand against Benedito. The physical pain was intense. The pain in his heart was even deeper. At that moment, Camila's image appeared in his mind. He remembered her soft voice, her caresses, and how she never, even in his most mischievous moments, had raised a hand against him. Tears flowed from Benedito's eyes, and a muffled groan escaped his throat. "What have I done?" But the longing for Donna Camila and the unconditional love she had offered him grew inside him with every moment. Benedito realized he had made a great mistake by leaving his home and his dear Donna. He understood that true freedom and happiness lay in the love and care he had always received from Donna Camila. Determined to correct his mistakes, Benedito decided he needed to return home. Gathered all his strength and, on a quiet night, escaped from the farm, starting the long journey back. As he walked, his memories of Donna Camila and the farm motivated him to keep going despite the fatigue and pain. While Benedito reflected, remorse and sadness overwhelmed him. The harsh reality of his situation hit him like a cold, cruel wave. He had left behind a loving home to face a world that had no compassion, all for a moment of anger and pride. With a broken heart and body from the hard work and mistreatment, Benedito made the hardest decision of his life. It was time to return home and confront the old lady he had abandoned. He wasn't sure if he would be welcomed, but the hope of receiving at least a look of forgiveness drove him to continue. With slow and heavy steps, he began the long journey back to Donna Camila's farm, where he had once been happy and loved. The donkey's heart was heavy with the burden of regret as he approached an unfamiliar farm. The last one before the final leg of his journey home, he decided to work in exchange for food and direction. Humbly, Benedito promised the farmer that he would work hard, and the farmer, with a scrutinizing look, accepted the deal. Benedito worked harder than ever, hoping each day would bring him closer to his home. Farmer, seeing his determination, finally showed him the way back, a winding trail through hills and forests he had never traveled alone. With his heart racing and legs trembling, Benedito followed the trail for a long time. Finally, he found himself at the edge of the farm he once called home. Something, however, was wrong. An unusual silence hung in the air, and a feeling of emptiness surrounded everything. The barn door was open, the birds were not at the windows, and Donna Camila's house had closed windows, with no signs of life. "Donna Camila, where are you?" bawled with a thin voice, but only the echo of his own bray responded. Benedito searched every corner of the familiar farm, every shadow of the past. Found no one. The garden was overgrown, the flowers and plants were wild, and the house seemed to have breathed its last sigh with the absence of its owner. Sadness and guilt consumed Benedito. He wandered through the farm, missing Donna Camila in every detail. The reality of his choice and its consequences weighed on him more than any hard work he had ever done. Yet, Benedito did not give up. He knew he needed to find Donna Camila, apologize, and try to make amends. With renewed determination, he decided to keep searching, asking neighbors and exploring the outskirts of the farm. Finally, he found a farmer who told him that Donna Camila had sold everything she owned and left in search of her beloved donkey, offering rewards and asking for information from everyone she met. Benedito's heart filled with hope. He knew that, just like him, Donna Camila had not given up. Following the clues and people's reports, he continued his search, determined to be reunited. The reunion was not just a hope, but a certainty that true love can overcome any obstacle. Though Benedito continued his journey, sure that somewhere Donna Camila was also searching for him, ready to welcome him with open arms and a heart full of love and forgiveness. It was then that Benedito saw a small, faded sign hanging on the barn door, with trembling letters that read, "I'm looking for my donkey, Benedito. He is the only thing I have in this life. Please bring him back." Below, Donna Camila's name was signed. Moved by this display of love, Benedito's tears flowed as he read those words full of affection and desperation. The donkey lowered his head, overwhelmed by the pain of loss and guilt. "I came too late," thought. "My pride took me away from a home that was a refuge of love and care, now turned into a monument of solitude and regret." Night fell over the abandoned farm, and under the starry cloak, Benedito cried for the old lady who loved him and who had died waiting for him a long time ago. Now, in the quiet of the night, he understood the depth of his mistake and the price of his disobedience. In the silence of the farm, where memories floated like ghosts of the past, he desperately searched for any sign of Donna Camila. It was then that in a forgotten corner of the garden, found a small grave marked with a wooden cross. Wildflowers grew around it as if nature itself wanted to honor the resting place of the old lady. Benedito approached with trembling steps, his heart beating with a mix of fear and hope. The name engraved on the wood read Donna Camila. He loved everyone, especially Benedito. His world collapsed. Fell to his knees before the grave, and tears flowed from his large, sad eyes. "Forgive me, dear lady," he murmured. "My pride blinded me, and my disobedience separated us forever." Cried until no more tears were left, knowing that his mourning could not bring back his beloved Donna. The moon rose in the sky, illuminating the farm with a light never seen before. Benedito stayed by Donna Camila's grave all night, reflecting on every moment of love he had shared with his beloved friend. With every breath, he felt the presence of the old lady, and promised in his heart to honor her memory by being the donkey she always believed he was. When morning finally came, Benedito stood up. He knew that although Donna Camila was no longer physically present, her spirit and love would live forever on the farm. With one last look at the grave, he vowed never again to let pride distance him from what truly mattered. From now on, he would live to keep Donna Camila's memory alive, caring for the farm with the same love and dedication she had always shown. And so, Benedito found a new purpose, determined to transform his pain and regret into actions that reflected the kindness and patience of his dear Donna Camila. Days passed since Benedito returned to the farm. Although his heart was full of regret and love for Donna Camila, loneliness and sadness were his only companions. Cared for the farm with devotion, the absence of his beloved Donna weighed heavier than any sack of grain. One morning, the neighbors passing by the farm noticed a deeper silence than usual. As they approached, they found Benedito lying motionless on the ground beside Dona Camila's grave. The disobedient donkey, who had learned the hardest lesson of all, had died of sadness with his head resting on the earth covering his dear Dona. News spread through the town, and everyone remembered the story of the donkey and the old lady. In her memory, the neighbors took care of the farm and planted flowers around the grave, creating a small sanctuary of love and regret. Benedito's story teaches us that pride and disobedience can lead us down paths of solitude and sadness. It reminds us that love and patience are treasures we must value and nurture. It's never too late to change and seek forgiveness, but also that we must act swiftly in life. Sometimes we let the cloud of pride and disobedience obscure our judgment, distancing us from those who love us. This story teaches us that although sincere repentance cannot change the past, it can light up our future, guiding us to acts of kindness and love that reflect the lessons learned. The memory of those we have lost should always be a flame that lights our way. Remembering Dona Camila's devotion and the love she had for Benedito, the neighbors realized the importance of keeping her legacy alive. Although Benedito had passed away, he left an eternal example of transformation and redemption. His story continues to be told not only as a warning about the dangers of pride, but also as a tribute to the power of love and patience. May her memory inspire everyone to value and nurture their bonds, seek forgiveness, and act with kindness, illuminating the path for everyone around them. If this message has touched your heart in any way, please share it with your friends and subscribe to our channel. Leave in the comments your experiences, something that has left a mark on your life. It's time to share your stories and experiences with us. May God bless you, and we hope to see you in the next video.